Welcome back to the podcast. This is going to be a super short one from me this week, mainly because I'm really short on time, but also because I think that, some of the most powerful conversations and some of the biggest takeaways don't actually need 20 minutes or 30 minutes of you listening to my voice. You just need the right questions. Welcome to the Treat Your Business podcast, the show for clinic owners who want real, honest advice and tried and tested ways of doing things. I'm Katie Bell, and this is the new era of bigger insights and bolder conversations to help you grow a clinic and a life you love. Let's dive in. So I have just come off the back of delivering an annual strategy session with my leadership team in my clinic, and there was one outcome that I cared about more than anything else. It wasn't necessarily the numbers, it wasn't the plan, it wasn't the targets, it was clarity. It was absolute clarity on the vision and what we stand for as a team. And it got me thinking, I wonder how many of your therapists, your team members are super clear on not the long-term vision as such, because I'm going to guess most of you are clear on your long-term vision, but on like maybe where you want to be in 12 months' time, like what the whole clinic is aiming for, working towards, moving towards. How many clinic owners think that you've communicated the vision, but their team are left still guessing? And I want you to think about if you were to walk into your clinic today, or I was to walk into your clinic today, and I asked your team, what's the vision for the next 12 months? What are we actually trying to achieve here? What is it that we stand for as a business, or you stand for as a business? Would they all say the same thing? And I remember, I think it was one of my coaches years ago said to me that we were talking about vision and clarity, vision and mission and values and all those kind of buzzwords that you hear all the time. And he said that he'd been in a big company in America that make the individual parts for defibrillators that like go in people's hearts. And this is a massive company. But basically, they were like an electrical company, for want of a better word. They made the parts that went in the defibs. And he walked around the organisation and he asked people, what is it that you do here? And he bumped into, and he called it the janitor. So this was an American thing that they were talking about at the time, American company. And he bumped into the janitor. The janitor was mopping at the time. And he said to the janitor, what is it that you do here? And the janitor turned to him and he said, we save lives. And the guy was blown away because he thought that the janitor was going to say, I'm a cleaner and I try and keep things clean for all the staff members. But he said, we save lives here. And that was like that moment when he told me like the story as well. I was like, wow, that is super powerful. That the company had a bigger mission and everybody, no matter what level you were at, what job you did, were bought into what the company were there to do. And so would all your team say the same thing? Or would you get slightly different answers? Would you get vague answers? Or worse, would you get answers that are, I'm not really sure? And here's the thing, lack of clarity doesn't just show up as confusion. It often shows up as hesitation. It shows up as inconsistency. It really shows up as lack of ownership. It really shows up in people not stepping up. It really shows up in people passing you their monkeys and you having to just do all the shit and everything have to run through you and you still being the lead decision maker and the one driving everything. And yes, your job is to come up with the vision, but you don't need to have all of the nitty gritty parts of how you're going to make that happen. That's where you need multiple brains at something. So if the vision isn't crystal clear, like from the top down, they can't step up. And this is where it gets a bit uncomfortable because clarity is not your team's responsibility. It's actually yours. So no, it's not just to have the vision, but it's to communicate it. It's to repeat it. It's to embed it. It's to live it. It's to live and breathe the vision and the values in every conversation. And this is something that we're really working hard on in our clinic at the moment. And again, comes from a place of my team were not able to really and effectively communicate our key values when I asked them. This was many months ago now, because And I was like, why? Well, I've set them. They know what they are. We were all in a session together when we did this several years ago. Why? And it's because I wasn't talking about it enough. It wasn't at the start of every email, at the end of every email. It wasn't formed as part of every communication that I had within the clinic. So most of us share the vision once in a meeting, maybe in a slide deck, maybe at the start of the year. And then we assume that it's landed, and it hasn't. Like, you need to say things 7 times for people to hear it for the first time. So once you've said it 6 times, congratulations, you've only got one more time to say it before they actually start hearing you. So clarity doesn't come from saying it once, it comes from being consistent. Your team should be able to hear it regularly, see it in the decisions that you're making, feel it in the standards that you're setting, and understand how their role connects into it. If they can't link the day-to-day to where the business is going, they just default, right, to, I'm just going to do my job. I'm just getting through the day. I'm just waiting to be told. So while sometimes this can be a team problem, it can be a performance problem, it can be an individual problem, quite often it's a clarity problem. And the same applies to our values, right? Every clinic has them written somewhere, maybe on a wall. We have them as you walk in the clinic, where we've got this bespoke, like, wallpaper, for want of a better word. It's like a big montagey thing that sits behind the reception desk. Like, they were there, and my reception team still couldn't tell me what they were. And I'm like, honey, these fucking right behind you. But it made me realise that it needs more than that. We might have them on the website. It might be a handbook, right? But the real question is, are they lived? Because values without clarity, they're just words. So we can't just list the values. We need to ask, what does this look like day to day? When do we not live this value? Where are we tolerating behavior that goes against this? Because your values should guide your decisions. They should set your standards. They should create accountability. So if someone in your team can't tell you, like, one of our values is exceptional, this is what exceptional looks like here, this is how we show up with patients, then again, it's not clear enough. I want to leave you with a few questions on today's episode, because we are running a masterclass this week on being the bottleneck in the clinic, where we are bottlenecking a lot of stuff. And this is one of those things, again, where the CEO, you are all CEOs. You are visionaries, you are business owners, you are not clinicians, you are not clinic owners, you are the CEO of your company. And whether you are one person or 50 people, we have to get clearer, and we have to communicate that better to our team. So I'd really encourage you to not just listen to these questions, but actually pause and think about them, or even better, write them down. If I asked your team what the next 12 months looks like, would they all say the same thing? Does each person in your team know how their role contributes to that vision? When was the last time you clearly communicated the vision, and how often are you reinforcing it? Are your values clearly defined in behaviour, or are they just words on a wall? Where are you currently saying, we just need to step up, but actually you need to provide more clarity? If you take nothing else from this episode today, clarity is what creates momentum. Like, without it, your team hesitate. They start going off down a freaking road of other shit that is nothing to do with what you actually want them to be doing. Or they go down a rabbit hole, or they start being distracted around other stuff, and growth feels harder than it should. When we've got clarity, people take ownership, decisions get made faster. And this is the business that starts to move without you pushing everything. This is exactly why inside our foundations program, we focus, and actually in our Elevate and Ascend even more, we heavily focus on the CEO identity and the strategy behind that, because this isn't about just working harder. You can't just keep doing the same shit and expecting different results. It's about leading better. So if this has hit a nerve a little bit, then good. That's usually where the opportunity is. And if you know your business lacks that clarity right now, then that's probably the place to start. Thank you for listening to this very short, sharp episode. I will be back next week. Love you all. Goodbye. Thanks for listening to the Treat Your Business podcast. Hit subscribe now and keep joining me for bigger insights, bolder conversations to help you build a clinic and a life you love.